Hello, everyone, and welcome to our panel discussion. My name is Nadine Petrick. I'm from Penguin Random House. Today, we celebrate International Literacy Day. This year, the theme is promoting literacy in the digital era. Now, approximately 739 million young people and adults worldwide lack basic literary skills. That is absolutely shocking and quite severe. And with the shift to the digital space, we face another problem. Not only are people now excluded from traditional literacy learning, but they're also excluded from the benefits of digital learning. Other concerns, of course, include privacy issues, biases, ethics, digital surveillance. Luckily, we have fantastic experts to guide us through some of those and other issues. Emma Sadleir is without a doubt one of not one of, she's South Africa's leading expert on social media. She co-authored her latest book, How Not to Mess Up Online, with her associate at the digital law company, Rorke Wilson. And they are here today to help us not to mess up. Afterward, we will have a quick panel discussion with some of our greatest children's book authors. Fanny Viljoen, Bianca Flanders, Louis Pretorius, and Rosalind Turin. And I want to find out how they cope in the digital age. Over to you, Emma and Rourke.
Well, thank you very much. And hello, everybody. It's so lovely to be talking about this. As you can all imagine, we feel very, very strongly about digital literacy. In fact, I would say that it is really, at the moment at least, our life's work. Because what we find time and again is that education is so crucial because in the digital space, prevention is better than cure. What we want to do is get our message across to every child, every tween, every teen in the country about what the risks of the online world are, what to do if you're the victim of an online harm, how to be as safe as possible. So, as much as we talk about literacy, I think digital literacy is part of that literacy because the digital world is so much a part of our everyday reality. So, what Rorke and I do is that we go to schools and we speak at schools literally on a daily basis about the risks of the social media world, not just social media anymore, it's digital media, it's the AI issues, etc. But how to survive the sort of the online world unscathed. And in that, we talk about the kinds of skills that are required to make sure that children are literate enough in the digital age that they are not going to compromise themselves and empower them with steps on what to do if they are ever a victim. So there are only two of us and we can only speak to so many people. So we wrote a book which is called How Not to Mess Up Online, a teenager's guide to not getting catfished, sued, arrested, cancelled, or addicted. And it's really for us a bit like the K53 to owning a smartphone. Like before you're allowed to drive a car, you must learn the rules of the road and you need to make sure that you know how to use it safely because it's a dangerous thing. And in much the same way, we hope and pray that this book does the same kind of job.
Yeah, and I think it's a really important book, especially right now. I mean, if we look at what happened a couple of weeks ago with the Alabuga Start program, I think it's illustrative of so many issues around digital literacy. I mean, if we look at the influences first, so just a basic Google would have revealed a lot about this program that there are allegations of trafficking against. But then beyond that as well, the broader audience to all of this could be practicing a lot better digital literacy as well. A lot of these allegations about Alabuga Start are only made by journalists. We haven't seen anybody which has made any announcement
I
about
think you
this.
might even need to go back a bit and tell them what it was.
Yeah, so for those of you that don't actually know what happened, there was a big controversy where the Department for International Relations and the Minister for Women released a public warning saying that South African influencers were promoting unverified overseas job offers that they were concerned about. And this caused a whole lot of these influencers to take down their videos, and there was a large backlash with calls for accountability for these influencers. And we speak a lot about the age of them as well. A lot of them are 19, 20, 21 years old. They're very young. They haven't even got a fully developed prefrontal cortex, and yet they're advertising to 1.7 million people. Now, not everyone is a person with 1.7 million people following them, but I think we do all have a responsibility to to exercise our literacy skills a lot better in the digital world.
And I think that's a point that we make quite clearly, well, we try to make quite clearly, is that in South Africa, at least, as soon as content has been published to one other person, legally, we treat it in the same way as if that content had been published on the front page of the newspaper. And so what we're seeing is laws, in some instances, very onerous laws with serious consequences, sometimes jail time, sometimes huge fines, being used against teenagers. And I mean, I even gave a talk last night, and there were some younger kids in the audience, sort of grade 6 and 7 kids. And I said, how old do you have to be arrested in South Africa? And all of them shouted 18, because there's this idea that the law only starts applying to individuals when they are 18, but that's not the case. In South Africa, you can be arrested from 12 years old if you commit a criminal offense. Now, there are a whole lot of criminal offenses that apply to the online world. We're dealing with issues around crimininurious, infringing somebody's dignity, extreme cyberbullying, doxing, image-based violence, sending somebody threats, incitement to harm. We've got these serious criminal offenses, everything to do with underage sexting, underage being under the age of 18 is a criminal offense in South Africa, creation and distribution of child pornography. If you create a deep fake of somebody, which is something we're seeing literally on a daily basis in South Africa, taking somebody's face and photoshopping them onto a nude body, for example, and distributing that content, the courts in South Africa are dealing with that content as if it was real. They are not distinguishing between the deep fakes and the real. So we need this message to be sent to all of these kids. These kids need to understand, and as part of digital literacy, what the criminal consequences are if they mess up. The other part is the civil law. So if Rorke posts some terrible thing about me, I can sue Rorke for defamation. And in South Africa, you can sue and be sued from 7 years old. So what we're doing by putting these devices in the hands of these young children without equipping them with the kind of literacy, with the kind of knowledge about the legal consequences, the disciplinary consequences, how to manage your reputation, how to manage your digital footprint, make sure that you're not going to compromise the potential to get into a university in America, for example, because you posted some stupid thing on social media when you were younger. It's those kinds of things that we need to get this message across. And as I say, we feel so passionately about digital literacy that we do these talks. We try and update our social media accounts as often as possible to share the literacy, to share the knowledge. And it's really the main reason that we wrote this book.
This is extremely insightful, but also quite disturbing. I think a lot of people listening to this are definitely not aware of what can happen when you mess up online. Do you have some tips for us, maybe, and for the kids and for teachers, because they are the ones mostly dealing with, and the parents, how you can, yeah, just a couple. I know the whole book is full of tips, but maybe just a few tips to help guide us through this vast mess.
I think there is one tip that we don't even need a lot of tips. Emma can add on more after this if she thinks I didn't cover it all. But there's one tip that we give at every single talk, whether it's captains of industry to students to teachers to parents. We tell them the billboard test. And what you do with the billboard test is you imagine a big billboard outside of your house, like massive, also outside of your place of work. And on the left side of this billboard, imagine your face along with your name, your job title, and whatever organization you're affiliated, whether that's your school, your employer. And then on the other side, imagine whatever you're about to let exist in digital format. And if you would not put it on that billboard outside your place of work, outside your office, then do not let it exist in digital format at all. And even that the billboard isn't necessarily a good test. You need to imagine it as a tattoo on your forehead, because the billboard gets taken down. The tattoo, the internet is forever. The delete button is an absolute lie, especially if you've gone and you've messed up and done something that you shouldn't. You should trust that someone has screenshotted that and that someone will. Someone doesn't even need to screenshot it. I mean, Jennifer Lawrence is a great example of what can go wrong when you just let it exist. She once took a nude photo after she'd gotten out of the shower because she felt really good about how she looked. And then she looked a few minutes later and then didn't feel that good about how she looked. So she deleted it. But in those few minutes, it was on her phone. It had been uploaded to her iCloud, and then iCloud was hacked a few years later. and her images are now on the internet forever for everyone to see. So it's not even think before you post, it's think before you put it on a hard drive.
Yeah, anything in digital format is the mantra that I teach even to primary school children is that digital content is dangerous content. But if I could just give a couple of tips to parents, I think the most important thing is making sure that children don't get access to these platforms and to these devices too young. So we are huge proponents of banning children in primary school from using smartphones. Certainly no under 13. I think in an ideal world, even under 16. Kids should be kept away from social media as far as possible. For parents, it's talking to your children. We know that the best line of defense against all of the online harms are active, involved, engaged, aware parents. So, as much as we've written this book for children, I think that parents are so ignorant of the laws and the rules and best practice when it comes to how to behave in the digital world. And then my absolute plea to everybody out there is please do not let your children sleep with their phones in their bedrooms. If they've got them, they're on them. No good comes about with kids being on their devices all night. It's when so much of the harm takes place.
One thing I just really want to emphasize from what Emma said is that idea of talking to your kids, especially if you've given your child a smartphone, you can't not be having the talk about sex, about drugs, about harmful content with them before. Yeah, you can't give them that phone and not have those conversations with them because it is guaranteed they're going to run into that content on the internet. Even if you give them, if you have the best parental apps, if you keep them as restricted as possible, kids are smart and a child will want to get around your rules on their digital devices, and they'll find that their way around that. So if you're giving them a digital device, even with all the safeguards, you have to be having these conversations with them.
Thank you so much. I think people just listening to this tiny bit of information that you've given would probably now run and buy this book. And hopefully, most schools will actually phone us and ask you, or phone you and contact you to ask them to come and speak there. I know you are exceptionally busy and you have to drop off the call, but thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, like I said, it's very insightful and quite scary out there, people. Keep and peeled, like they said in, what was it, Police File when we were kids. Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Rorke.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
And now, welcome back, Fani, Bianca, Roz, and Louis. Maybe you can just unmute yourself before we start because, yeah, you're going to chat and there's nothing. So, I quickly want to get back to the literacy part, normal traditional literacy. Um, I want to know what are your feelings about the terrible state of literacy in the world, more specifically South Africa. Roz, this is something you work quite extensively with, so I would love to ask your opinion about this first.
Hi everyone, my name is Roz, children's book author with Penguin. Passionate about children's literature and getting books into the hands of children. There's no doubt about it, there is a crisis and it's serious. But I am here to share a bit of hope and not taking away from the crisis, but to say that it's about actively being part of the change we wish to see in the world. And we all have, as we are all in the same space here together as authors and publishers, and we have the best jobs in the world of getting books into the hands of children today and getting relevant children's books for South African children, which will hopefully change this narrative. I work with the Learn Project. It's an NGO standing for Learn stands for Let's Educate a Rainbow Nation. And Learn is a nonprofit trust that I started 12 years ago, coming out of my teaching career. I was a foundation phase teacher. And in volunteering my time, I realized just how different education is across the provinces and just how different schools are and in the different areas. And so my hope was to bridge this gap, identifying the need for children's books. And some schools do not have access to any books for reading for enjoyment and pleasure besides textbooks. So that was my wish. And fast forward now 13 years, we've established 30 school transformations across the country, and we work very closely with principals and teachers. And for me, it's all about collaboration. We can't do things alone, and this country is not going to change if we just keep waiting. There's no more time to wait. So that was my intention behind my writing, was to bring more proudly South African books into the hands of children, into classrooms, and to show this beautiful country we have. And I have seen so many amazing transformations just by the joy that these proudly South African books bring to children. And in our libraries, it's so exciting because we have books of all these authors sitting here today in our libraries, and the children just love them. And one positive example I'm going to share is a young boy called Nsika, and he was part of that stat. And there was the Pearls assessment that was done, the latest one, 2021, which showed that most of our grade 4 learners are not able to read with meaning and understanding in any language. So that really got to me, because you just hear they can't read for meaning and understanding, and we hear that often, but in any language, even their own language. So I was just so excited to see how the rich variety we have in children's books, and I'm encouraged through that. So Nsika joined our first Learn Library at Ekuteleni Primary, KZN. He was a bright-eyed grade 5 learner, new to the school, and his very disadvantaged background, very rural school. And anyway, he joined and he entered our library, and he could not read a word in English, but he had high hopes and dreams, and he asked the librarian if he could join the reading club, to join the literacy quiz team. Now, if I'm being honest, as a teacher, I don't know whether I would have instantly said, you can be part of the team, but this librarian was amazing. She said to him, I can see you've got a heart and you want to learn how to read, and you've got a passion for this. So this library is for everyone. Come and join us every whatever day they practiced, and be part of us. And so he learned so much through listening in those sessions, and feeling included and being inspired in a space filled with books and with people who believed in him. And Wiseman Njeka is one of our field workers, and he took this young boy under his wing, and he said to him, you've got the passion and I want to help you, so we're going to work together. And we fast forward now, this child then became grade 7. He was in the winning quiz team for the Pendolani Literacy Quiz, which is the outreach version of the National Lit Quiz. So it's an amazing competition, and his school won that year. Fast forward, this boy, about 4 years ago, I got a phone, it must be nearly 5 years now, I got a phone call to say that the neighboring high school phoned the school to say, what is this Learn project? And what is this reading club? Because the top 5 in every grade, and the top 5 children had come out of that primary school. And that's the power of a library, and the power of investing in our youth, of our future leaders. And fast forward from that story, he became head boy. He matriculated with, and he got accepted into 5 different varsities across the country. And he is now studying 4th year medical student at UKZN. And
absolutely fantastic,
changing the narrative, and that's a positive, but not taking away from the crisis that we have, but investing in our youth and our future leaders. It all boils down to access to books and reading.
That's a beautiful story. You mentioned the variety, and just on this panel, the variety is exceptional. And I think, Fani, you've written a tremendous amount of books, and the variety in your own oeuvre is amazing. I want to know, how did your own writing and marketing process change during the last couple of years, taking the digital space into account?
Now, I think when I started writing, for example, we started using different types of messages, kids sending messages to each other. So when I started, the kids sent like SMSs to each other. Then later it was Mixit, then it was BBM. Now we're on WhatsApps. So we have to keep up with the technology when we write for the kids. Also incorporating games into their stories, the internet and the changing world that the kids live in. And yeah, it's just as you as a writer, you have to keep up with the changing world of each of these teenagers, and it's not always a big challenge or difficult. It becomes a way for you to sort of express your creativity as well. How can you use this changing world when you write for these kids? So yeah, I love technology, and the things that's happening at the moment is also always inspiring. And I try to incorporate it in my stories.
Bianca, you with your pumpkin pie Pampoenpit series, um, you do that quite well, where you incorporate various media. Um, you go to stage, you are all over social media. Um, how does your stories translate to different media, do you think?
It's so interesting because in the pumpkin books, I don't actually write about, I've chosen not to write about
Yes.
technology. Um, I think because for me, I really like magical realism in the pumpkin world. But as a reader myself, I quite enjoy reading, like Book People. I thoroughly enjoyed reading that book, and it's so technology focused. Um, for me, a story is a story, and we just have to adapt it slightly depending on the medium that we're using. So I know for stage, there's certain changes I need to make, or if it's for television or film, like certain things I need to keep in mind. Like, we consume stories with a certain lens depending on the way that we're watching it. So that's, yeah, I guess that's something I think about. Ironically, I do not do pumpkin social media. I have somebody else do it for me because I'm the absolute worst. Um, so I get a lot of help with that. But something I think I really try to do is to kind of promote a multidisciplinary approach to reading, because I remember we did, there was a summit a couple of, like, last month or the month before, and what was said that I really appreciated was we need to um, teach kids to, well, um, we need to teach the way they learn and not learn the way they teach. And I loved that. So when it comes to making reading accessible, I try to make it as fun and as playful as possible. And I love that. So incorporating aspects of drama and music, and to really use use the imagination while reading. So a friend of mine who's also a writer, he told me something that his aunt used to do for him, and I thought that was wonderful, was she got him interested in reading. She would ask him questions. So they started with the Harry Potter series, and just within the first chapter, she would ask him, okay, so it says that, there's a small little chocolate cake with green icing. What kind of green do you think that icing was? Like a pistachio green? Or so, just to really make reading fun and quite active. So it takes it out of just being this cerebral thing. It becomes something that you can really participate in. So that's something I've been thinking quite a lot with a pumpkin about, with especially with pumpkin. And now I've got a little baby. I think about how I can make reading as fun and interactive and as multidisciplinary as possible for him.
It's interesting. There was in the Daily Maverick, I think last week or earlier this week, an article where they say there is a worldwide trend, and we know this, it's been going on for a while, that people don't read for fun anymore. So that's what you're doing. You want to make it fun. Again, Louis, how would you personally go about that? What's your in take on that?
Um, I think I think what is important is to realize that reading is part of the larger, and I'm gonna probably offend people by saying this, but part of the larger entertainment um, uh, ecosystem. And I think that you shouldn't see it as separate from entertainment. Um, and you should look at how children consume entertainment and look at ways of integrating reading in that world for them. Um, because I was thinking about the questions you were going to pose, and it's almost something like, on Amazon Prime and on some other streamers, you've got this button called X-Ray, which provides you more information about a series, who are the actors, those type of things. And I was thinking to myself that that is something we should think about when we are creating books, that it isn't just the words on the page. How can you create a world outside of that page where the reader can actively participate in and sort of go down a wormhole into the world, and that it becomes a interactive form of entertainment?
Ask all of you this question, but Louis, you can start off by answering first. I want to know, as part of the digital stuff AI is taking over, how is it affecting your creativity? And do you think it's possible to utilize it without compromising the human element?
Absolutely. I am a big believer in AI, and it is a massively useful tool. But I would say that AI is rather stupid, and that you as human are still the one that needs to tell it what to check what it does, because it really does have a mind of its own, and it is a useful tool. Don't see it as something that can create for you. It will never replace your voice or your lived experience as a writer. It can augment, but it will never replace lived experience. And I always say that when you give a prompt to AI, have the inherent to be able to prompt use it. And that inherent knowledge comes from learning, from studying, from reading. So if you want to use AI to its most fullest potential, you should really read, because that will improve your vocabulary and will improve your ability to prompt it.
Fabulous. Bianca?
I am probably like a bit of an insult to my generation, because I must be frank, I'm quite terrified of AI. So I understand. I totally agree with Louis. I think there's so many benefits, and I really need to probably get to the party. Um, but I also think that currently my position is that AI is an incredible tool for somebody who already knows what they're doing. So somebody who already has knowledge. I feel strongly that if you are in school or young, I don't think you should be using AI. I think you should be, like Louis says, getting your lived experience. So yeah, so I do feel with technology that we're moving quite quickly, and I'm concerned that we don't necessarily have the capacity to keep up with the pace that we're moving at. So that does terrify me a little bit, especially if I look at the mental health disadvantages of where we are with screens.
Mm.
So I as myself, I'm considering exploring it with work, but I haven't done so yet. For now, it's just me, my brain, and my hand, like a fossil. Um, but that's kind of where I'm at. Yeah, and it's funny because you can see. So I I I adjudicate quite often, like
Oops. Oh dear.
students.
That's digital for you. Seems like Bianca is just frozen in time there. Um, Fani, maybe you can take over for the moment.
Yes. I'm a huge fan of AI. I think AI is brilliant for doing research. I would never ask AI to write a story for me. Uh, as Louise said, um, there's actually some AI doesn't really have a soul, and you can immediately see that when you read something that was written by AI. I see there's like more than 100,000 books already written by AI. But if you're an experienced reader, you would definitely see that there's something missing in the story. The soul is not there. The heart isn't in the story, and you'll pick it up immediately. But doing research is brilliant, and I should perhaps also say that we're on the cusp of this new um, piece of technology that's going to change the world. You won't get away from this. Uh, the other day, I opened ChatGPT and asked my house worker to speak to ChatGPT in Sesotho. She talked to Chat in for 50 minutes as if they were old friends. So it's going to change the whole world. We won't get away from this. So I think as writers and artists and so on, we should actually explore this, see what it can do for us, but also realize that AI shouldn't do all the work for us.
Thanks, Fanny. Bianca, you are back, and that's where we were just saying that digital might not always be on your side, and you proved the point.
Yes, sorry.
I'm also a bit scared of AI. Maybe you can just finish the point you were making. You were saying you often adjudicate. I think it's yes.
Yes, writing. And I was just saying you can just pick it up. You can just really tell that it's just, and it can be perfectly worded with the most beautiful sentence structure, but it lacks soul. So I just think we mustn't forget our magic as human beings. So while we can use these technological tools, nothing can replace, like Louis says, being human and the lived experience. And I often wonder with the world, sorry, I can talk about this for hours, but like what childhood looks like these days. And I think I know what childhood was for me. I've got very vivid imagination or memories of running around outside and reading and eating far too much chocolate, etc. And I wonder sometimes now with kids growing up in front of a screen in 15 or 20 years' time, when they try to remember their childhood, what they will be remembering. Um, yeah, I think about that. And that contributes to your lived experience and to your knowledge.
Yeah, valid, very valid point. Ross, we're going to end up with you.
Yes, I've taken in everything everyone else has said, and I think it's a combination. For me, I am cautious of AI. I won't lie. What I'm cautious about as an author, speaking from that point, I am cautious that nothing replaces our imagination. And I can pick up something that's been made up of AI like this because it doesn't have a heartbeat. And as Fani said, it lacks that soul. So for me, if we're wanting to produce engaging children's books, children are not fools. They can tell. And I think this is just a personal opinion, but for me, I think AI used for research, for that. My books are, I weave fiction and non-fiction, and so children are incidentally learning information whilst at the same time enjoying a fun imaginary story, because they really are quite full of imagination and fun, because I want to bring that fun element back into reading for enjoyment, but also for meaning. So for me, researching certain facts, fine, but we have to, I do feel, well, I'm protective over my work as an author, and what I'm cautious whether this is founded or not, I'm not sure, but I'm cautious as an author that, like when we were speaking about with the social media experts before, where they said that we have to be careful, like what you wear is like that banner, billboard, tattoo on you, and what you put out there once you put it out, you can't take it back. And so for me, when I'm writing my next books, I'm currently writing two at the moment, and a lot of time goes into that, as I know, Fani and Bianca, time it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of soul, and it's a hot piece, it's a hard work. And for me, I'm worried that if I start asking questions directly linked into my book, or write a section on this, or once it's got that information, it stores it and it builds upon that, I'm pretty sure. And who's to say that information doesn't go out to the next question that goes out, and there's your work out there already. So from my side, I'm not against it. I know that we can't escape it. It's something that we are going to have to learn how to work with it, alongside it, but never let it take over our creativity and our natural abilities as authors.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I think we can go on for another hour. But yeah, I think what I'm taking away is, let's not forget the heart and the soul, and give your kid a book, and teach them and guide them through the digital stuff. Thank you so much. It was really insightful, and I hope everyone else listening is all will find some value in this conversations. Have a good day and happy reading.
Thank you.
Thank you.